few minutes ago, Chris Matthews said, in effect, you can tell a lot from a spin room when there's been a slam dunk, when there's been a decisive victory and corollarily a loss. You can tell by the people in it. Chris has a prominent person in that spin room right now that'll tell a lot. Hey, Chris.
Kelly and Conway, I remember an earlier name, Fitzpatrick, in the old days. I was talking about being in Ireland this weekend. Look, Donald Trump, your candidate, must have known that Hillary Clinton was going to come at him on the birther issue, that probably Lester Holt would do it, that they would go after him on the tax returns thing. Why wasn't he ready?
He was ready for both. He repeated he repeated on the first issue exactly what he had said 10 days earlier.
But nobody buys this audit thing.
I'm sorry, I was talking about
nobody buys the audit thing.
On the tax, yes, some people do.
Is it his company or his personal income tax that are being audited?
It's actually a good, by the way, it's a good thing.
Which taxes are being audited?
I have no idea. How would I know?
Are they federal or state? Nobody's ever asked it.
Definitely federal. If that's the question,
is it his company or is it in personal taxes?
I would assume it's both. I don't know.
Both?
I know that he's on our. I've talked to his lawyers and accountants, and I've asked them, what's the big deal? Why can't you release them?
And they
have said we do not recommend that he release his taxes while he's under audit. It's a routine audit. But I just want to fast forward for a second, Chris, if I may, because the only time that Hillary Clinton was even her emails were mentioned is when Donald Trump mentioned them as part of his answer on taxes. He said, after I'll go against the advice of my lawyers and my accountants.
What's the connection between emails and tax returns?
Well, he knows that she'll never produce them.
What's the connection?
The connection is that she's you must release your taxes, you must release your taxes. And he is saying, well, then release the 33,000 emails.
So they aren't negotiable, as Lester asked.
No, they're not negotiable. He said he would go against the advice of his.
Yeah, but in other words, he's negotiating it. I will release my taxes if you release your emails. But you're pretending Americans care more about his tax returns than their own. People want to know what their tax returns will look like. Well, no, but a negotiation is exactly what he's engaging in. He says, if you do this, I'll do that.
It's a good thing you mentioned her emails because they're very much on the minds of Americans. As you know, 66% say she's not honest or trustworthy.
Let's talk about the other problem that seems to be a dearment impediment to him being elected. This birther thing, as I mentioned, that bring up the name Sid Blumenthal, an off-campus name that nobody recognizes. Why would that somehow defend him?
He was naming the person who went to McClatchy. He gave a very specific example. He said, this person, he named him, went to McClatchy, respected news organization, is what Mr. Trump said tonight, Chris, and that the McClatchy folks actually sent a reporter to Kenya to figure out. But Donald Trump was not running against. That sounds legitimate,
but the question put to him by the moderator, Lester Holt, was, why did you persist for 5 years in hitting this point that the president wasn't legitimate? And what did that have to do with Sid Blumenthal?
So what he said was, I'm just going to repeat what Donald Trump said for you. He said it started with Clinton campaign associates. Patty Solis Doyle admitted that to Wolf Blitzer a week ago, Thursday or Friday. Hold on. He got the birth certificate, and then he said, he's born in this country, period, and I want to move on to creating jobs, to defeating ISIS. And guess who else wants him to move on to do that? Americans. Look at the NBC polling. Where are these issues?
Okay, let's go back to this debate. Hillary Clinton had a very structured strategy tonight. Point by point, she hit him on personal matters, whether she said, rightly or wrongly, perhaps wrongly, he inherited $14 million or he borrowed it from his father, that he was going to blow apart the federal deficit by $5 trillion.
Wrong.
That he wouldn't release his taxes, that he had stiffed his suppliers as a businessman, point by point, to get him to react. And in every case, he reacted. Was that a good strategy to respond to every charge?
And then other people were saying he was too restrained. So I guess folks will say it however they wanted to. Yes, they thought that she
was setting the agenda.
Well, she has spent the last however many days and weeks preparing for this, deciding what she wanted to make sure people heard in the debate.
Smart?
But why is that? Why does she need to do that? Here's the answer. Here's the answer, Chris. The answer is because she doesn't do what he does out in the campaign trail. He'll leave again 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to fly to Florida and up in Chicago tomorrow night. He goes where the voters are. She doesn't. She waits. We have to literally wait to hear what she thinks about X, Y, and Z for the debates. Do you think voters deserve 270 minutes, 90 minutes times 3 debates to find out what they think on the issues? He does it all the time.
I think these are good points. I just want to ask you, will he prepare for the next debate?
He was prepared. He prepared for this debate.
Will he engage in mock debates? Will he practice, in other words?
He practiced.
No, practice answering tough questions back and forth.
He did. I was there. He did, absolutely. But look, Hillary Clinton, for her campaign to run around all weekend trying to shame the media into helping them prop up their candidate, you better have virtual fact-checking. It was kind of weird It was kind of weird.
Shame, they didn't shame me. I don't know who's getting shamed.
No, I hope nobody took the bait. I thought it was terrible for them to say to the media, you ought to be doing your job and make sure he doesn't get away with X, Y, and Z. And then at the beginning of the debate, she had this really odd moment where she's like, you can go on our website. We're changing our whole website into a fact-checking Donald Trump. That was kind of weird. You're running for president. You're going to do that. But here's the thing. She was fact-checked tonight, too, that she had called African-American youth super predators.
You can't find evidence of where your candidate, Donald Trump, came out against the Iraq war before the war started. Do you have any evidence to that effect?
Yeah, he says he did. He says that he talked to Sean Hannity,
do you have any documentary evidence that he opposed the war beforehand? I mean, a news clip, an interview, a tape? Any kind of physical evidence that he opposed the war?
Yes.
What is it?
He said the Neil Cavuto interview, and then he says he talked to Sean Hannity. He used to argue with Sean Hannity on the phone. Sean told me tonight that he verified that. He tweeted out that it was true. Does he have a transcript? I don't know. I don't know if Sean has a transcript, but he did.
I mean, not on the air.
But remember, too, he was a private citizen. He wasn't a United States senator.
I know all that, but he's bragging about how he was right about the war.
Well, hold on. I want everybody to remember that Hillary Clinton was a United States senator who proudly ran down to the well of the Senate and cast her vote in support of the Iraq war.
Personally, I thought it was the wrong vote, and I've said so for like 15 years. But Donald Trump never can show any evidence.
Did she say that?
I don't have to speak for her. But Lester Holt asked him to. He corrected him on the air and said, you do not have any evidence that you opposed the war before it started. Do you?
He said.
Do you have any evidence?
Yeah, his evidence is the Neil Cavuto interview.
Where's that? Where do I get that?
I have it. The Neil Cavuto interview, the Esquire profile,
and what did he say?
Sean Hannity stuff. Then today somebody sent us a clip of him with Wolf Blitzer talking about what a disaster the war was.
Did he say he was against the war before the war to whom?
He said before he was against it, and then while it was going on, he says the disaster.
Okay, I can't find any evidence that he was opposed to the war before it started.
But by the way,
if he would help me, it would be very helpful.
Do you ask Robbie Mook why she voted for the Iraq war when he sits here? I mean, she was a United States senator. I cannot tell you the number of times I've pounded them on that. I doubt that they even answer the question. They wouldn't answer if she's still for sanctuary cities. They wouldn't just ask somebody. He wouldn't just answer somebody over there, a different journalist. If Hillary Clinton is going to tell Barack Obama he's wrong on TPP now that she flip-flopped on it, used to be the gold standard, now she's against it.
So you assert here again as his campaign manager that Donald Trump is right in saying he has hard evidence that he opposed the Iraq war before it started.
He said he opposed the Iraq war before it started, and then he said if we're going to do that, we shouldn't do it. He said it.
You're like a lawyer defending a client. My client says.
No, and here's why not. Here's why not. Hold on. He's not on trial, and he wasn't in office then where people are asking him, how are you going to vote on the war? He was a private citizen. He was a businessman.
I know.
And he had conversations with people about the war. You know what everybody else is using? He does this radio interview with Howard Stern about a million things, and then as part of it, Howard Stern says, literally, I've memorized what they said. Howard Stern says, so, should we invade Iraq? Donald Trump answered, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so.
Not very emphatic, not like Hillary Clinton running down to the well of the Senate and saying, Iraq war, yes.
Yeah, but I guess so. It's not opposing a war. It's saying yes. It says
please.
yeah.
She voted for the war. She's been an interventionist. She's been an interventionist.
That's a hell of an argument. This is Orwellian.
Anyway,
we're going to have more debates with Donald Trump. Is he coming back for the next two?
Oh, absolutely. We can't wait. I wish there were more.
No mock debates, though, before him.
Chris, he prepares plenty.
Okay.
Believe me, I'm there. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on tonight. Kellyanne Conway, thank you. Back to you guys.
Good job.
Okay.
They've got an audience in the spin room.
I know. I heard that. I heard vague applause.
That was seeing Chris Matthews, and he and Kellyanne Conway know each other very well. They've been on TV a lot together, from long before that she was his campaign manager. Seeing them go back and forth on that point at that level of, at that length, and never get there, and never actually get to the end of that very simple question, shows you how good she is at getting around those, doing the slalom around those cones. I will say, while that was all happening,